Today is the first of the month. It is March 1st. I went ahead and got my fertilizer this morning. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna go and I'm gonna fertilize the new field. I'm gonna take animals over to the sale barn, and on Monday I will be going to the sale to pick up new animals. And it's supposed to rain on Monday too. It's supposed to rain Monday evening. I got the 50% chance went up to 80%. So I went ahead and got my fertilizer. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fertilize the new field. I'm gonna get that squared away, and then here in a couple of days I'll be bringing in new animals, and it's supposed to rain too. And so I've been taking a look at everything, and so I figured, the whole thing about the personal finance situation, and let's just take a look at it from because money is not an opinion. I don't know, where this disconnect happened for, money is not an opinion, okay? If you legitimately look at something and, you legitimately have zero idea in terms of money, that's not good. I mean, money is not even difficult, okay? Money's not difficult. Money is actually probably easier than simple math. I have difficulty doing anything past about multiplication, division, and I can still understand money. All right, money is not some difficult thing. All right, there is no reason I guarantee it, 90% of the population of the earth has the capacity to understand money. It's not difficult. It's easier than basic math. Money is not an opinion. This is something that is very important when it comes to this whole, especially if you're going to run, even if you're not going to run a business, in terms of just, granted that you're if you're going to walk off into the Appalachian Trail and you're going to live, completely abandoned human society and go live, in the woods, if that is you're not going to have any electricity, you're not going to have any gas, you're not going to have a house over your head, you're not going to have a car, you're not going to have if you're legitimately going to go and live off in the woods by yourself, then sure, money may not be important. But if you need access to anything that you cannot produce yourself, like food, water, electricity, a home, a car, if you're going to produce anything, or not even produce anything, if you are legitimately if you're gonna need something that somebody else will have to produce, you will probably have to pay that person. That person is not your slave. All right, the person is not your slave. Nobody cares about your worthless whatever it is. You're probably gonna have to pay that person. All right, you're gonna need money, and so it's important to understand how money is involved in things. All right, money is not an opinion. I don't know how else to put it. Money is not an opinion. And so when I take a look at my financial situation, how much do I believe I'm gonna make this month? I'll probably make about 20 grand. How much am I gonna pay myself? I'll pay myself about 12. So that leaves me with $8,000 for the month net positive, and the $12,000. And why am I in this situation, and why am I doing it like this? Because and let's just go over everything. Okay, let's just take a look at it for what it is. If I make 20 grand and I use 12, and when I use that 12 I actually grow my business and I have a couple of $1,000s left over, that's very good, right? Let's think about it in terms of a common sense kind of thing. I made 20,000. I used 12 of that 20,000. And when I used 12 of that 20,000, I even grew my business and had a couple of $1,000s left over for the month. And that's the whole big idea. I'm even going to have money left over, cash left over. I'm not talking about equity or anything. I will legitimately still have money left over. I can grow my business, legitimately grow my business, buy everything that I need, and I will still probably have a couple $1,000s left over. And I didn't even take all the money out of my business that I made for the month. All right, and why am I going to do that? Because if I pulled the extra money out of my business, it would actually negatively affect my financials. What am I going to do with an extra $8,000? Right? Am I going to sit there and look at it? What am I going to do with 8 grand? And think about it like this. I would still anticipate that I still have, a couple of $1,000s left over. So what am I going to do with 10 grand? Am I just going to sit there and look at it? What's the point of that? There is no reason to do that, right? What are you going to do? Let's say that you pull 10 grand out. Let's say I pull 10 grand. Let's just say I sit here on a 10.5 acre field for the rest of my life. I legitimately have zero plans on growing my business. I've just decided, you know what, I'm not going to grow my business. I don't want to do any better for myself. I just want to sit here for the rest of my life and run 30 cattle and make $20,000 a month forever. That's what I felt like I've decided that I'm going to do. You know, that's what I've decided that I'm going to do. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to make $20,000 a month forever. I'm not going to grow my business. I'm just going to sit here and, right? That's what I've turned into. All right, then, you know, what is that extra 10 grand a month? You know, what is that going to do? It's not going to do anything. It's legitimately not going to do anything. If you have $10,000 today, it will be $10,000 tomorrow. It will be $10,000 next week. It will be $10,000 next month. It will be $10,000 forever. If anything, and then you're guaranteed to lose a portion of that to your taxes. Taxes are not optional. If you are holding on to cash at the end of the month, if you are holding on to cash at the end of the year, you're going to pay income tax on it. So you're guaranteed to lose money. I know, and that's actually how I see taxes too. This is why I say taxes are not a punishment. All right, taxes are not a punishment. They are an encouragement to reinvest your capital. That's how I see it. Because at the end of the day, if I reinvest all of my capital, and then I don't owe any income tax. And it's not just me, it's everybody, right? It's everybody. If you're in America, if you live in America and you are an American citizen, you have access to the exact same scenario as me. If you invest all of your money into tax-deductible assets that you have knowledgeably appraised and you have a reasonable idea for how you're going to appreciate that asset, you don't have to pay any income tax. It's not just me, it's everybody. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you actually take a look at my situation, I mean, I probably, even just right now with me, my 60 acres, right? Me and my 50 acres, I have to purchase about 150 to 160 cattle a year by myself. That's the trade-off. If you legitimately think that it's unfair, then actually go out and try and do the work. All right, actually try and do the work. And then tell me it's unfair. It's borderline impossible. I don't know how else to tell you this. Running cattle is not some easy thing. Running a business is not some easy thing. Nobody cares what you think. Growing grass is not easy. All right, none of this is easy. I don't know how else to, but if you legitimately think that it's unfair, then go out and buy yourself 150 cattle and have fun. See how it turns out for you. It's borderline impossible. All right, I don't know how else to put it. It is very difficult. I actually don't even know anybody that's even doing 10%. If I legitimately found somebody right now that was like, I'm on a 10.5 acre field and I make $2,000 a month, not $20,000, but $2,000, I would be very happy to even meet that individual. I have not seen anybody even do 10%. And money talks. It's not an opinion. Money is not an opinion. I don't know how else to put this. It is a statement of fact. And trust me, at the end of the day, if it comes down to it, I'm not going to be the one who cares. Why? Because I'm the one with the money. I'll just sit here and be rich by myself. All right, trust me, I don't care. I will legitimately sit here and just be astronomically rich by myself. It doesn't matter to me. I'm the one with the money. I'm the one who knows how to make the money. And at the end of the day, I'm the one who makes the money. I could legitimately redo all of this in 3 seconds if it came down to it. It doesn't matter to me. All right, I've gotten myself a lease property. I'm gonna go and fertilize it tomorrow. I'll be increasing the size of my herd, probably to double within the next 5 or 6 months. I'm gonna be taking about 25-30 animals over to the lease property as well. When I grow grass, and I've actually decided that I'm not going to get into the cow-calf business. I'm going to liquidate my heifers. I'm going to get into the backgrounding business before I get into the cow-calf business. I'm going to take these animals up to 800. It's just not in my best financial interest to be in the cow-calf business. I would get in the backgrounding business before I got into the cow-calf business, okay? And so I've decided that I'm going to liquidate these heifers. I'm not going to hold any heifers back. I'm gonna go ahead and liquidate, and I'm just gonna stick to the stalker calf business, and I'm gonna start into the backgrounding business. I'm gonna use this field as a backgrounding operation, and even right now, if I'm just gonna be completely honest about it, because there are a lot of things that determine how much, when I take a look at my situation and I determine how much am I going to pay myself, there are a lot of things to consider. None of it is a Disneyland adventure. None of it is an opinion. I need to sit there and look at it and think about it and then do something, right? That's the big idea, right? Something needs to be done. How much am I going to pay myself? right? There are a lot of things to consider. Well, my preconditioning pens can probably hold about 7 animals at a time. I've been preconditioning 8 animals for the last month, and I've taken a look at the animals, and I would actually think that 3 or 4 of them need to be preconditioned for a little bit longer. Or, I can, next week, starting next week, I have this lease property, and I'm actually going to start taking these animals. I'm fertilizing the grass this week, and I'm fertilizing the grass tomorrow, and I'll start emptying this field. I'll start taking these animals over to the lease property, and when I do that, I can utilize this area of the field as a large preconditioning pen as well. But as of right now, I'm looking at buying new calves, and I would say that I can probably bring in 3 or 4 next week. I've got probably about 7 animals hitting the scale at about 650 over the next month, and there are a lot of things to consider. And then when I take a look at all of these things, I then need to determine how much am I going to pay myself, right? I mean, this is not some arbitrary thing. This is not some debatable thing, right? All right, like if you're in a situation where you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna pay myself, whatever, and you have to, I have to sit here and I have to think about it. How much am I gonna pay myself? And think about it like this: if I'm in a situation where I pay myself, where let's say that my business, realistically, right? I've already talked about this. My business makes 20 grand, about 20 grand a month. This is not some debatable information. This business makes about $20,000 a month. Very, very, very simple, right? The money is not debatable. Money is not some difficult to understand thing. Money is not difficult. I don't know how else to put that. When you take a look at it, it just is what it is. It's not an opinion, right? Because there are a lot of things where it's like, if you look at it, I mean, it's you whatever, right? I mean, it's, but money is not, money is legitimately just, it is what it is. This business probably makes about somewhere between $18,000 and $20,000 a month. So if I make $18,000 to $20,000 a month and I'm paying myself $12,000 out of the business, that leaves money in the business, and it gives me enough money to do whatever it is that I need to do. What do I feel like I need to do? Well, I feel like I need to go and fertilize the new field. I feel like I need to go and put fertilizer on the new field. I feel like I need to grow my business. Right? Oh, well, then I feel like I need to pay my bills, right? I need to pay my bills. I need to grow my business, and I need to fertilize the new field. 1, 2, 3, good. How much is that going to cost me? All of it combined, maybe 10 grand, right? So that leaves me with 2 grand, and I still have $8,000 left in my business. I'm net positive about $10,000 a month. Right? Very, very, very simple. This is not some arbitrary thing. This is not some difficult to understand thing. It is very simple. Money is not an opinion. Very simple, right? If I make 20 and it costs me 10, then I'm net positive 10 grand. If I feel like I need to have more money, I can just go and get more money, and then I can do whatever it is that I felt like I needed to do with the money. Right? I feel like I need to, I've taken a look at my situation, and I've actually determined that I need another $4,000. Well, then, if I need, I can just go get the 4 grand, or, I can take a look at the whole situation, and I can say, well, what is then, I can even leverage against my assets. I can do whatever it is that I need to do. It doesn't matter. Right? And I talked about this yesterday, right? Leveraging against your assets. This is something I talk about all the time. No, you should not leverage yourself to the eyeballs. I don't ever leverage myself to the eyeballs. If anything, I leverage myself maybe about 0.7 to 1, about 70%. So I end up investing about 170% of my income. And even when, but when I do that, that means effectively 30% of the assets still entirely belong to me. It does not matter, right? Even if I lost all of that money, even if I lost, okay. Because I've already talked about leveraging. I talk about leveraging all the time. This is, I talk about leveraging all the time. How much leverage do I utilize? Think about it like 2 separate herds. I bring in most of my animals at about 200 pounds. I'm getting into the backgrounding business. Even when I'm just in the stocker cattle business and I liquidate at 650. Normally I was liquidating at 550, but then I had a small outbreak of BRD, and I've decided that it was in my business's best interest to liquidate at 650, and so I'm liquidating at 650, and when I liquidate at 650, I effectively make enough money to effectively buy 2 cattle every time I liquidate one. If I liquidate at 800, if I go into the backgrounding business and I liquidate at 800, I'll probably make enough money to buy about 2.2 animals every time I liquidate one. And I can do this cost effectively because I'm going to be growing grass, right? Very simple, nothing complicated. It's not like some 5-dimensional calculus. It is very simple, right? I'm going to grow grass, and if I grow grass, growing grass is very cheap. Right, I talk about this all, growing grass. If I put the cattle on grass, I don't need any equipment. I legitimately just put the animals on the grass and they will eat it for me. Very easy, is nothing difficult to understand. When that happens, it is very cheap for me. Very cheap. It's borderline free. All right, not free, but borderline free. But growing grass is not easy. There are a lot of things that you need to consider when growing grass. It's not simple. If it was simple, everybody would be doing it. And I don't even know anybody even doing 10%. All right, if it was simple, everybody would be doing it. If it was even relatively simple, more people would be doing it. All right, let's just be honest with ourselves. I legitimately don't know anybody even doing 10%. All right, and money, and we can use money as a gauge for whatever. We can use money as a gauge to see, what do I mean by I don't even know anybody even doing 10%. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about it in terms of money. I show it to you, right? I legitimately show it to you all the time. I make about $20,000 a month on this 10.5 acre field. I show it to you. I legitimately just show it to you. I flat out show it to you. I've been doing this for, like 2.5 years. All right, the data, I've been collecting this data and everything, right? I just flat out show it to you. It's not some debatable thing. It's not debatable. Nobody cares about an opinion nobody cares about an opinion. All right, if you have a bunch of opinions and you have no money, you're kind of pathetic and you're going to die poor. Have fun with that. Do I want to see that? No, I don't. Why would I want to see anybody die poor? There is no benefit to being poor. If you're born average, which is a majority of everybody, you effectively have the capacity to learn how to do 90% of this. If you legitimately applied yourself. Nobody cares about your Disneyland adventure. No, you did not fall out of heaven at 7. If anything, you're average and you're going to go downhill your entire life. All right, if you turned yourself around, it would be a miracle after a certain point. All right, I don't know how else to put that. Money is not an opinion. And if we take a look at my monetary situation, how long do you think it will take me to double my income? How long do you think it will take me to double my income? This is an interesting way to think, because I've already given you the information, but I have not given you the answer. How long do you think it will take me to double my income? I make about $20,000 a month now. How long do you think it will take for me to double my income? It'll take me about 7 months. It'll take me about 7 months. Why? Because I'm going to be compounding my growth by about 10% a month. I've talked about this, right? I'm going to be compounding growth by about 10% a month. If you can't understand it in terms of a monetary figure, think about it in terms of cattle. Think about it in terms of cattle. All right, and I'm going to be doing this without any leverage. I'm not going to be using any leverage, and I'm just going to be reinvesting my earnings. And even now, I'm net positive. I legitimately almost have $10,000 a month left over every single month that I'm not even using, even as of right now. And I'm not using any leverage. And when I was talking about this, but the whole idea of this is that and I've been talking about my income has actually passed a point of inflection. If you legitimately thought that I was making a lot, if you legitimately were whatever, right? It's unfair or whatever, it's about to get worse. I'm about to make drastically more money. I've actually passed the point of inflection. That's what I'm calling it, the point of inflection. I'm actually looking at the information and I'm deducing and I'm taking a look at it just for what it is. And I've actually realized that my income is going up on a vertical scale, exponentially, not multiples, like to the power, like square it. I'm not using any leverage, and I will effectively double my income in the next 7 months. When I leverage, I will actually be increasing my income by almost 350% from that point. And even as of right now, money doesn't really even matter to me. It doesn't matter. Money is I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. Money is important. All right, money is important. You know, you don't want to be in a situation where you don't think money's important and then you turn into some idiot. Oh my God. And then you go and, you know, leverage yourself to the eyeballs and buy a bunch of worthless things. And then you go, right, sell your soul to the devil for no reason. And, you know, you don't want to be in a situation where you're like that. Money is important, okay? But, you know, but money to me is relatively negligible. Why do I say that? Because take a look at my situation, right? I mean, you know, take a look at my situation. I make about $20,000 a month and it costs me about 10. Right? I just take the 10 grand out of the 20 grand that I make. And I legitimately have $10,000 left over. Right, you know it doesn't matter to me. I think about other things like running my business, right? Are my cattle conditioning properly? Are the stocking densities good? Or is my grass accumulating biomass properly? Do I believe I have any mineral deficiencies on my field? What do I think my tax burdens are going to be? What do I think the appraisal value of my animals are? That's the kind of stuff that I think. I don't think about money. All right, I don't think about money. I don't go in, oh my God, I don't have $100, I don't have $500, I don't have $1,000, I don't have 100,000. I don't think about money. I don't think about money. Money in itself. At the end of the day, in terms of money, I do think about money in terms of like, what am I going to pay myself? Right? How much do I, how much money did my business make and how much am I going to pay myself? I think about money and what am I going to do with the income, right? I think about things like that, but I don't sit there and go, oh my God, my life's an adventure and my life's a journey and, right. I don't do, oh my God, I don't have $1,000. I can't afford to. I don't think about things like, I don't think about money like that. Whatever it is, I can already buy it. All right. Pretty much anything. It doesn't matter. All right, it doesn't matter. All right, when you take and it's like, and money is not debatable. Money's not an opinion. When you take a look at this, how much money do you think, logically think about it for yourself, and please, for the love of God, at least try. All right, I've already told you my business plan like 50 times, right? I'm liquidating at 650. Am I liquidating all of my animals at the same time? No, I'm not. Right, I'm not liquidating all of my animals at the same time. How many animals do you think I'll liquidate next month or this month now? About 7. Right, 7 animals or so will be at target market weight. That leaves me with what? 25 animals. Those 25 animals have an evaluation, and those 25 animals have gone up in value. How much money do you think that those animals have accumulated over the month? Think about it in terms of a logical sense, through an objective lens. Money is not debatable. Money is not some arbitrary thing. Money is not an opinion. All right, it just is what it is. You take a look at it and boom, and it just is what it is. It's not like something that you have to, whatever. It just is what it is. All right, I make about 20 grand and I use about 10. That's my entire, and okay, here's the thing. Well, I'm going to pay myself 12 grand. I'm going to pay myself 12 grand. Why am I going to pay myself 12 grand? What am I going to do with the 12 grand? I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to buy whatever I need. I'm going to grow my business. I'm going to buy the fertilizer. I'll buy some antibiotics. And I will still have about $2,000 left over. And if I legitimately needed more cash, if I was in a situation where I legitimately needed more cash, I could just go and get more cash. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to sit around with $10,000 a month. Because think about it like this. So if I paid for everything, I paid for everything. I paid for everything and I still have $10,000 left over. Right, that's more or less the situation that I'm in right now, and my income is actually going up, and it's going up pretty drastically. All right, and even as of today, as of right this moment, I have about $10,000 a month left over. That's not my income. That is the money that I have left over. I could legitimately shovel that into a hole and light it on fire, and I would still be able to do everything. It doesn't matter. And money is not an opinion. Money is not an opinion. For the love of God, money is not an opinion. All right, it just is what it is. I don't know how else to tell you. All right, so if I make 20 grand, and okay, but think about it like this. if okay, because it is what it is, right? I would say that my income, my income, let's say for this farm, let's just talk about this farm. For me to do whatever it is that I need to do, let's say it costs me, I anticipate that it's going to cost me 12 grand for me to pay for everything that I need. I need fertilizer. I want to, I'm looking to grow my business. I need fertilizer and I'm looking to grow my business and whatever. And I've determined that I need 12 grand. But my business makes 20 grand, right? My business makes 20 grand. If I pull out 20 grand out of my business, I will legitimately be sitting here at the end of the month with $10,000 cash left over every single month. Does that sound like a reasonable thing to do? What am I going to do with that? Am I just going to look at it? And what am I going to do? I mean, what am I going to do with that? Just look at it? It doesn't matter. And I've already talked about things in terms of a personal finance situation. Maybe I have 25, 35,000 cash right now. It's like something between 25 and 35,000 cash. I don't need any more cash. Realistically, I don't. With 25, okay, when you have 25, 35 grand, if your air conditioner blows up, you can just fix it. I can just fix my air conditioner if it blows up. If there is damage to my house, I can just fix it. If I need to go and buy something, I can just buy it. 25, 35 grand is plenty of cash. There is no reason for me to go from 35 grand cash to 45 grand cash to 55 grand cash to 65 grand cash to 7. There is no reason to do that. Even with 35, 25, 35 grand, there's nothing, it just sits there. All right, 25, 35 grand is more than enough money for me to do anything that I need to already. There is no reason for me to stockpile more cash. What am I going to do with more cash? It's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything, and it is going to be taxed the hardest. All right, and you're going to lose a portion of it to inflation. But that's a very realistic way to look at it. That's a very realistic way to look at it in terms of a personal finance, in terms of how do I see my financials. There is no reason for me to have more than 25, 35 grand cash. It's not going to do anything. What am I going to do? Look at it. It's not going to do anything. All right, so, I would rather think about other things, growing my business, tax burdens, animal health, the quality of the grass, the biomass accumulation rate. There are a lot of things for me to do than sit there and think about cash. Thinking about cash is, it's like, and I think that a lot of people get it completely flip-flopped. They think about cash when it's like, it's like when, you would make more money. You would actually end up with more cash if you thought about assets, good assets, positive returns, knowledgeably, learning about assets. You would make more cash. Ultimately, you would if you understood assets better. Most people would. All right, what am I going to do with more cash? It's not going to do anything. But that's a very realistic way to look at it. I already have 25, 35 grand. What am I going to do with more cash? If I legitimately went from 35 grand cash to 45 grand cash to 55 grand cash to 65 grand cash, what is that going to do for me? It's not going to do anything. Right? It's legitimately not going to do anything. What am I going to do? Sit there and look at it? What is that going to do for me? Nothing, right? So what would I rather do? Well, let me think about growing my business. Let me think about accumulating more assets. Let me think about my tax burdens. Let me think about the biomass accumulation of my grass. Let me think about, what kind of assets am I looking to accumulate? I mean, let me think about other things. Why am I going to sit there and think about cash? That's a worthless thing to do. All right, die poor, have fun. All right, there is no reason for me, why, even, because, and think about it like this, I can pull $10,000 more dollars out of my business, right? No problem, right? It wouldn't even do anything. It wouldn't damage my business. It wouldn't do anything. But what would I do then? Congratulations, I have another $10,000 cash. Now what, right? What am I going to do? Sit there and look at it? It's not going to do anything. It's a worthless amount of money. It's not going to do anything. It legitimately, 10 grand is, and at the end of the day, it is a worthless amount of money. A trivial sum. What are you going to do with 10 grand? Right? I mean, you're going to pay for your bills for 2 months. I mean, what are you going to do with 10 grand? It is a trivial sum of money. It's worthless. Practically, I'm not going to say it's worthless. It is a trivial sum of money. It's not like you have a large amount of money, and it's not going to do anything. Well, then let me go and accumulate more assets. Let me run my business better. Let me grow my grass better. Let me go and, I'm going to go and read a book on growing grass, and I'm going to go and read a book on a cattle diet, and I'm going to look at different deals. I'm going to look for, maybe I'll look for equipment deals. Maybe I'll look for real estate deals. I'm going to go and do something else. All right, I'm not gonna. Oh my God, cash, right? What and when I introduce these ideas, maybe you'll understand. It's like, wow, that is borderline like moronic. Money is not an opinion. It doesn't matter what your opinions are. Opinions don't matter. Money is a statement of fact. This business makes $20,000 a month, $20,000 a month. That is a statement of a fact. All right, I'm gonna pay myself 12 grand out of that 20 grand. I'll pay myself about 12 grand. What am I going to do with that 12 grand? Buy fertilizer, fertilize my new field, expand my business, keep my preconditioning pens running at optimal capacity. That's what I'm going to do, and that's what it's going to cost me. Then that leaves me, and I would anticipate that I actually have about $2,000 left over. So that leaves me with about $10,000 left over for the month. Do I want to be in a situation where I'm, holding on to just flat out 10 grand? Not really, but I mean, at the end of the day, when I take a look at my situation, I'm looking to get into the backgrounding business, right? So I can hold on to the cattle for a little longer. I can go ahead and start putting them on the grass, and I'll start liquidating at 800. I'll change the market target weight to 800 instead of 650. And at the end of the day, how long do you think it will take for me to double my income? What do you reasonably anticipate that, okay, if I'm going to go from 20,000 a month to 40,000 a month, how long do you think it will take me? Probably about 7 or 8 months. All right, let's just be reasonable about it. If I was slow, it would take me 8 months. If I was fast, it would take me 7. And that is with me using zero leverage. So it is very easy to see exactly how much money I make right now because I'm not using any debt. It's very easy to understand exactly how much money I make. Right? I don't have to pay the bank back or anything. But understand that when I use leverage, I actually increase the amount of money that I make. All right, so understand that too. All right, so it's very easy to understand. If I go and if I bring home $12,000 cash, all $12,000 cash is mine. All right, the 25 animals that I have, I don't owe the bank anything. All right, I don't owe the bank anything. I'm not going to use any leverage for about 3 or 4 months. Even with this new lease property, within about 5 months, I'll actually need to buy my own field. All right, I didn't buy myself some extraordinary amount of time. I didn't get myself some extraordinary amount of time by getting myself a 50-acre lease. Even with the 50-acre lease, I'm not going to be using any leverage. I can probably grow my business. I can't even grow my business 100%. I can't even leverage my balance sheet or anything right now. Because if I legitimately leveraged my balance sheet 1-for-1, within the next 3 months, I would have to purchase about 200 cattle. All right, within the next 3 months, 4 months, I would have to purchase 200 cattle, 150, 200 cattle, something like that. And I'm not going to be using any leverage. And I will still have about $10,000 a month left over. That's a very reasonable way to look at it. And it's very easy to see exactly how much money I make right now because I'm not using any leverage. It's very easy to understand exactly how much money I make. Very easy, right? I make 20 grand and I pay myself, my business makes 20 grand. I pay myself 12 grand. With that 12 grand, I buy enough fertilizer for my new field, and I even managed to grow my business. I buy everything that I could possibly need, and I still probably have about $2,000 a month left over. That leaves me with about a net positive of about $10,000 a month. And I would estimate reasonably that I'm actually going to double my income within the next 7 to 8 months, and I'm in a situation where I'm not even growing at 100% capacity. I'm legitimately not using any leverage. All right, and I'm still doubling my income about every 8 months, 7 to 8 months. All right, a very reasonable way to look at it. Very easy to see exactly what's going on. It's very easy to understand because I'm not using any leverage, right? I'm not using any leverage. I don't owe the banks anything. All of the money that I make is mine. Money is not an opinion. Money is not an opinion, all right? I don't know how else to put this. Nobody cares about an opinion. If you have a bunch of opinions and you have no money, congratulations. You have a massive pile of BS. You're going to die poor. Have fun with that. You're gonna die poor. All right, I don't know how else to put it. You're legitimately gonna live your whole life, not knowing. You're legitimately gonna live your whole life doing 10% of what you could have achieved, and then you're gonna die poor. All right, if you are born average, which is effectively everybody, you have the capacity to understand 90% of this. You have the capacity to understand 90% of this, and I am showing you a very real life example of what it looks like to generate large sums of money. Large sums of money. I did it via tax deductible assets that I can knowledgeably appreciate. That's how I did it. That's the fundamental idea of how I generated money. I knowledgeably appreciated the assets, and I purchased tax deductible assets. That's how I did it. You have the capacity to understand that. Everybody does. Granted that you're not like in the bottom 3% of IQ. 90% of everybody has the capacity to understand this. Is not difficult. Money's not an opinion. And at the end of the day, if it comes down to it, I will legitimately just be rich by myself. I'm not going to go and be poor. Why would I turn myself poor? What's that going to do for me? What's that going to do for anybody? Nothing. And if at the end of the day, if it comes down to it, I will legitimately just be completely wealthy by myself. I will leave everybody for dead and just make a bunch of money. It doesn't matter to me. Do I want that to happen? No, I don't want that to happen. Would I rather see more people succeed? Absolutely. I would rather see more people succeed. But at the end of the day, me being poor is not going to help anybody. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help anybody. Right? It's not. What's that going to accomplish? Me becoming a poor person, what's that going to accomplish? What if I just started going around saying things like, oh, me and my buddy pals are going to go on a magical adventure together? What if I started saying things like that? What if I legitimately went off and lived my life like that? Oh, altruism. Good thing I fell out of heaven a 7. Oh, well, I was born with the answer and I don't have to go and learn anything. What if I went around and said stuff like that? What if I legitimately started living my life like that? Would that benefit anybody? Oh, I don't need money. And then at the end of the month, I'm scraping out the bottom of the barrel every single month. I have nothing, and delusional fantasy. Oh, money's not going to make me happy. What if I started living my life like that? Is that going to help anybody? It's not going to help anybody. I didn't sell my soul to the devil to make money. I understand that I make a ballistic amount of money, and the amount of money that I'm making is actually past a point of inflection, and I am about to make a drastic sum more. I'm about to make exponentially more money. All right, I don't know how else to put that. I already don't worry about money. Money's already borderline negligible to me. It doesn't matter. All right, money's not an opinion. All right, but that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.